Hi everybody, my name is Harvey Weiss. The title of my doctoral dissertation is Music Has Been My Life. I was born and raised in La Center, Minnesota, then a town of about 1,200 people. And it's about 60 miles south of the Twin Cities, a town known for just about absolutely nothing. My fellow barbershoppers, today I'm here to apologize for being a no-show here more recently. But it's because there is no light rail train service from Belle Plaine, which is 90 miles round trip for me. If the LTR was running in downtown Eden Prairie, I would be here more often. My mother reported once to me that when I was a toddler, she would find me on the kitchen floor with pots and pans and a wooden spatula banging to the rhythm of the noisy sounds made from the motor of an old refrigerator. Definitely signs of an early musical protege for sure. I can't make that stuff up. With that austere beginning of my musical background, I was seen to later appear in local shows as various otherworldly characters, the likes of a Phil Harris rendition of his song, The Thing, to Spike Jones and his City Slickers, Washboard and all. The latter was for the LeSueur County-wide March of Dimes fundraiser, circa whatever year it was, and who knows what it was. It was about, yeah, it was way back there. I have photos to verify all this too. Finally, I must end my trip down nostalgia lane so I can start to address my specific barbershop beginnings that began later in my high school days during the 50s. That's 1950. I seem to have an affinity to school musical organizations like marching band, choir, and plays. And it's here where my barbershop life began. In February of 1950, the famous Atomic Bums Quartet from the Minneapolis Commodores sang at a joyous celebration of the 25th wedding anniversary of my parents. They sang to a large crowd in the basement of our church. I was awestruck. I was only 13. Little did I understand at the time the magnitude of their persona or how accomplished they were in the society. In fact, they were so popular that they were asked to return as headliners for another fundraiser that my mom put on 2 years later. But what a great first exposure for me to barbershop quartet singing. Just jump ahead now a couple years to my sophomore year in high school, circa spring 1953. Thank God by then my voice had changed, and I seemed to hit those tenor notes with better clarity than the year before. So my high school vocal instructor, Mr. Al Eaton, called me aside one day after a rehearsal, which we squeezed in into our 1 hour lunch break, and said without even asking me, Harvey, you are going to be in a barbershop quartet. Come with me. A very declarative sentence. He had a strong, friendly personality, but boy, he had the worst halitosis that would kill an elephant. He told me who the other three members were, which was great, because they were all very good friends at the time anyway. But to say the least, I was both stunned and elated to be singled out like that. Such began a couple of very busy barbershop singing years for me. Beginning my junior year in 1953-54, the McKinley Four was what we were called, named after the 25th assassinated president. We started singing at various event dinners. And one of the highlights was for a church called the Blessed Mother of Perpetual Motion Auxiliary. That was really a hot one. And for whatever reason, there was always a purpose for a dinner in our small city. This is where the hot dish and infamous green jello salads became famous. To my recollection, we only got paid with a free meal and lots of backslapping and handshakes. Unfortunately, the money was never even discussed. But to this day, that hot dish, entree, has retained its legendary status. Then something really life-changing happened to us. Our coach took us to Northrop Auditorium in February of 1954 for the Parade of Quartets show, again sponsored by those infamous Minneapolis Commodores. We were overwhelmed by the outstanding quartets that came from all over the Midwest. One, of course, was the infamous Hut Four, John Hanson, Bob Dykstra, Spong, and all the others. We actually stole one of their songs from their package that night. It was called German Band. You all have heard that. I don't know how we remembered all the words. It became our signature song in all of our public performances. More recently, a few years before John Hanson died, I talked with him at the Commodore's rehearsal and confessed to him my plagiarism. John looked at me and said stoically, "Want to sing a tag?" One of the biggest highlights of my high school quartet career was getting an A rating in a state vocal solo and ensemble contest held at the University of Minnesota, May 7th, 1954. Our song was Climbing Up the Mountain Children, a spiritual. When the news hit our local weekly rag paper, we were immediately booked to sing at our high school athletic banquet a week later. And from there, it was nonstop hot dish events. Mr. Eaton thought he would try getting together another quartet from the junior class behind us, which was made up at that time of a current member of the Gay 90s Quartet, Dr. Jim Teedy, a classmate. Both quartets competed the following year. Unfortunately, they got an A and we got a B. However, very humiliating, but we had the gigs and they didn't. Finally, the culminating event of my high school barbershop career was being asked to sing the Four Freshmen's Big Head Graduation Day at our commencement exercises in 1955. Nervous? Let me ask you this, what lies at the bottom of the ocean and twitches? A nervous wreck. And that's what I was. It was worse than normal because our commencement speaker that night had been none other than the newly elected governor of the state of Minnesota, Orville Freeman. My musical interest continued after high school when I attended St. Mary's University in Winona from 1955 to 59. I spent the next 4 years on the road with a large concert chorus and a 14-piece big band that had me playing alto sax. But my senior year, I reinvented the German band song and introduced the world to barbershop quartetting to the college world. I again had to persuade 3 other guys to buy into it, and we were on the program for my entire senior year, touring cities like the likes of Chicago, Kansas City, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and St. Louis. We didn't have European trips yet like all the high school kids have today. But here is a big gap of time. Within only a year or less, I was again singing with the then hot Minnetonka Clippers in 1963. With no teaching experience in kids, that all came to an end until I retired in 1998 from the English department at Cooper High School in New Hope, Minnesota. I had a friend who was across the hall from me, and she kept telling me about all her exploits with a woman's chorus and all the accolades she kept showing me, and I got so jealous. And when I told her I liked barbershop, she said, "Why don't you come down to our church and visit the men's barbershop chorus, which is rehearsing in the big choir room on the other side of the church?" That was it. I was hooked for the long haul. Now being retired, I had lots of time to put in the hours of learning and performing new songs. After 9 years with the Clippers and about 150 quartet gigs later with my quartet called the Minnesota Go-Fours, I switched over to the Commodores. Our highlight event of singing with the Go-Fours at the national anthem of the national anthem for a Minnesota Lynx basketball game at Target Center in 2007. Ken Glover was a Clipper and a Cooper member at the same time, and he later invited me to be a guest for a Commodore's rehearsal. I tried a dual membership, but I had to leave the Clippers in 2009. Since then, I've served as president and many other board offices. My close and very personal friend, Steve Zorn, coerced me over a cup of coffee to serve as the LOL District Vice President of Membership from 2015 to 2018, which found me surviving 24 articles for the Pitch Piper and numerous district meetings all over Wisconsin. Recently, my greatest honor was being named as the bow tie recipient in 2023 for the Minneapolis Commodores chapter. Hard to believe I'm on the same list as all the names of the past Commodores, like Jim Richards, Doug Miller, Jim Foy, and all the others. Not counting my early school years, I just received my 25-year membership card from BHS. That's not bad since they all came after I retired. I'm currently active with a doo-wop quartet called Bob, which was founded by our beloved Dan Cole. It was a great gift he gave me, and I will be eternally grateful to him for this opportunity that has continued since 2015. Thanks for letting me recall some of these great memories built around music and most of all my barbershop experiences. It has given me what every retiree needs: fun with a cause and friends forever. Finally, in the words of Hoagie Cormichael, a former Commodore in 1954, and that's for real, all together now, it's great to be a barbershop. Okay, once more, it's
great to be a barbershopper.
Thank you very much.